Thanks for joining us again for another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. This week's topic is going to be the 2024 revenge games that are in the schedule. We're going to be taking a look at them and sharing what we think are the biggest and best revenge games in the upcoming NFL season. Before we get to that, we'll have a chat through all the news, big news that's happened in the NFL this last week since we did our Sporting Goats draft, which if you haven't had the chance to listen to or watch yet, please go and do, and then go vote on the polls that are on Twitter and Instagram. Some people are just voting for themselves.
I was going to say, I think I was off to a hot start,
yeah, on the Instagram poll. But yeah, please go give it a listen. We had a great guest, Andy Davis, and it was just really good fun. I really enjoyed that episode, and it was a good laugh and great topic, debating the greatest of all time across the sporting world. So yeah, and we'll have more of those daft drafts coming up, probably have one next week. So yeah, stay tuned for that. To be able to go do that and listen to those things, you need to go follow us on Spotify, Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. You'll be notified of new episodes when they drop. Also on YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, and TikTok at GTW_GTC. So please follow along. It helps us out massively. Byron, Joe, it's been a week or so since our last episode. The full schedule dropped in the meantime after we got together, and there's been a bit of news in the NFL world that we're chatting about. But how are you both doing, first of all?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, soccer season finished. Got like a couple of weeks to wait for the Euros to start. So yeah, thankfully some NFL news to keep us tidied over anyway, because I don't do well when there's no footy on.
Some of us have got a cup final to look forward to.
Well, you've got a cup final coming up, yeah. You looking forward to it? Is that the right term?
I think Manchester United are going to beat Manchester City on Saturday. It's crazy, I know, but
clipping that.
Yeah. Look, having two fit centre halves is going to make them such a difference.
You're going to have two fit centre halves? Martinez is back, and Maguire's back, or Lindelof?
Varane's been wrapped up in cotton wool for the last month, so
Varane is off on his way. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's going to play.
Best of luck.
Thanks for that. And Joe, sadly, your team will bounce from the playoffs, so apologies to bring that up again, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. It is what it is. But no, yeah, it's the NFL being the NFL and just keeping in the news all year long. So now they've got the schedule announcement during the playoffs of the other big sports in America just to take over. They just, they know what they're doing. They love it.
So much going on at the minute. Hockey, basketball. I don't think I've shared with you. I follow the Indiana Pacers, and they got shafted in overtime last night against the Celtics, and sadly they're 1-0 down, and are probably going to get beat 4-0 now. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the NBA and Eastern Conference Championship game. We're here to talk about the NFL. Let's start with the schedule release then, as that came out after. So when we recorded last week, we found out what the international games were going to be. We knew the kickoff game in week 1 was going to be Ravens Chiefs, and we also know the Brazil game, we've known that for a while, was going to be Eagles Packers. Should we start with week 1, kind of what we're most looking forward to in week 1, apart from the fact that football is back? Because that's obviously the good part, the good part about it. But there's some great matchups there. What are we liking the look of week 1?
I think, like you said, the big games, the primetime ones, I think they've hit every single one to get the league going. Like you said, the Ravens Chiefs, massive. Packers Eagles. We look forward to that one in Brazil. Obviously, first time in Brazil, and that's actually a really fun matchup to start. Then you got Rams Lions, Sunday night football, and then Jets 49ers. It's 4 big teams, 4 big playoff contenders who see how they get to, and I think they've hit it straight out the park, because there's some other prime times you look further down, you're like, oh, okay, that's who's playing. So to get week 1 going and starting off well, I think get the prime time sorted and then see where the other games are.
Yeah, huge shock. Week 1 Sunday night football isn't Cowboys Giants, because I feel like that's what it always is.
They've got a better game though. This is going to be a banger, I think. Again, it was a great playoff game last year. Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit. Jared Goff now with his bags again. Not feeling like the poor man this year. So yeah, and I think outside of the primetime games, I think my pick of the game is probably Houston at Indy. CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. Can't wait to see how that one plays out. I think it's just like Joe says, this primetime slate on week 1 is it's pretty much perfect. Like every game should be really, really good.
Yeah.
I always think division games week 1 just always seems way too early. The Texans Colts feels like that could be a huge game going down the line, but obviously they've got to choose some teams to play each other. But yeah, that's the one I would have picked as well.
And an early revenge game that we'll touch on later.
And the other one for me was just more, not necessarily the game, Tom Brady's first game for Fox on the call is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, what a combination this is going to be for Fox. How many times, we already see Fox, the Cowboys in that 4:25 slot on Fox a lot already. I think we might see them even more now with Brady. That's going to attract even more viewers if that's possible, I think. But yeah, Cowboys at Browns, which should be a good game as well. 2 playoff teams from last year as well in week 1. But yeah, Brady's first call has to be the Cowboys, the team that retired him.
Yeah. It's one way to look at it. Yeah, I mean, he dominated the NFL in the entire time he was there compared to how Dallas did. But yeah, they retired Tom Brady. That's all. That's how we'll talk that narrative off.
Not mentioned that Brady was 7-1 against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But it's the one. The one was the last one.
That one is he couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what drove him out. I think as well, it'll be interesting to see what the second Fox game is, because that'll have the Greg Olson, who last night won the Emmy for Outstanding Sports Personality Event. Outstanding Sports Personality Event Analyst. And has now been demoted out of his job because of Tom Brady. So, whatever the second Fox game is, will almost certainly be a great one as well, because Greg Olson is incredible at his job, and just unfortunately for him, he's not called Tom Brady. So.
Yeah, sadly not. I wonder how long Greg Olson does have left on his Fox contract, because he will be moving somewhere else, I imagine, for big bucks. Right, so that's week 1. Let's have a shout out. I mean, run through. Should we just have a quick talk through some of the big games in terms of the seasonal games? Thanksgiving's usually, obviously, a huge night. Thanksgiving's week 12, right? Yeah. Week 12. I always get the week wrong. It's not, is it? It's week 13.
Yeah, I've got them here if you need, Paul. So it's, the Bears and the Lions. Obviously, I always get the Lions. I think that'll be a fun one. Hopefully the Bears are still interested at that point, and, they've got something to prove. Then you got the Giants at Cowboys. So, they know how to, they might not have them in week 1, but they do have them for Thanksgiving. Probably be the biggest range. And the interesting one is Dolphins at Packers is a late one, which again, hopefully both teams are still in contention. You've got 3 NFC North teams there, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on, being one of the best divisions. I'm really looking forward to them ones, because again, sometimes you have where it's just one game, you're like, not bother watching that. But as it looks right now, it could be the Giants Cowboys, to be honest, if you choose any of them. Just how
it's not always like the games don't always end up bad as well, but like I'm just pleased to not see Washington on Thanksgiving, because like feels like Dallas play Washington every other year. I'm sure it isn't, but like it just feels like it is, and like I'm just pleased not to be seeing them on Thanksgiving for a change.
Yeah, very, very much so. And other point, just there's quirk in the schedule that Bears Lions interesting at Thanksgiving, because the Bears don't play a divisional game until week 10. So their back half of their schedule's loaded with these NFC North games through them. So if they can get off to a good start and then all those divisional games, that'd be real interesting. The Black Friday game is the Chiefs against Raiders at Chiefs. So that was a Christmas Day game last year. That's going to be the Black Friday game, which I assume is still on Amazon. On November the 29th. And then we've got a new player in town. Netflix are going to be showing the Christmas Day games.
Chiefs again.
Which is the Chiefs again, of course. Of course it will be. But, some cracking matchups. It's week 17, isn't it? I want to say.
I believe so.
Yes, so you've got Chiefs at Steelers. Should be a great game Christmas Day. And then Ravens at Texans. Yep. So a rematch of the AFC divisional round game, or one of them, from last year. So again, 4 playoff teams from last season on Christmas Day. Expectations will be high for all 4 of them this year. So again, a good couple of matchups on Christmas Day.
Yeah, and how it works out, they actually play the Saturday before as well, where it's Texans at Chiefs, Steelers at Ravens, so they have to do it because it's like a Wednesday Christmas Day. But yeah, it's like I said, NFL is just taking over everything. So it's
they're even playing for Boxing Day.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, Christmas On a Wednesday, yeah, let's just chuck some games in, give players 4 days rest in between. I'm sure they'll be fine.
Look, I think that, again, another quick schedule. I think the Chiefs play on every day of the week apart from Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because, again...
That Brazil game.
Yeah. So,
not Brazil game. They play on Black Friday, sorry.
They're playing Black Friday, yeah. So, yeah, they've got that. They've got, obviously, Thursday, I think a couple of Thursday nights, all the way through, the Chiefs. It's going to try... The NFL will just... Look, they'll just give it us. No matter when. No matter if we want it, when we want it, they're just going to give it us.
It is super weird because week 17 as well is like the fantasy championship week, most leagues. Because week 18, teams are resting, yada, yada, yada. So most fantasy leagues finish on week 17, and that league, those games are going to start on Wednesday, go through to Monday, and the Wednesday's Christmas Day. I think it kind of sucks, truthfully. I understand playing Christmas Day games if it falls on a Sunday, but I don't know. I think squeezing them in just to have them just for ratings and to F with the NBA is. Yeah. I don't like it, truthfully. I'll watch the NFL whatever day it's on, so it doesn't really matter to me. Happy Christmas, family. But I don't know. I don't like it. I think it kind of blows, truthfully.
Especially the timings as well. It's 11 a.m. and 2:30 Eastern time. So that's right in the middle of it. I guess with Paul, especially the second game, you'll probably be full of food, full of booze, and trying to stay awake to.
It's great for me. 6 and 6.5, 9. So when the triple head. So we had the triple header last year. I think it was 6, 9:30, 1:30. So into Boxing Day morning. So 6.5, 9. Perfect for me. That's great. To be laid back with my tub of roses and whatever else I took in the Christmas draft around me. It'll be ace. And then let's quickly touch on any particular. So we've got the Thursday night schedule. I think it's 13 of the 16 games on Amazon for TNF on Prime are divisional games. There's only 3 scheduled that aren't. And that kicks off with Dolphins, Bills. I'll get it right. Bills at Dolphins in Miami. And then, we've got Cowboys, Giants on there. Niners on there. I mean, I think Bengals, Ravens might be the best one on there.
Yeah, I do like the Texans, Jets, being non-division. I think, again, it all depends what these teams like. Last year, it would have looked exciting. And then, obviously, after one snap, it was like, oh, God, we've got to watch the Jets. So hopefully everyone can stay fit. But, week 9, that could be a fun one for Texans and Jets, where it's important, but it's not do or die, where some of these division games, it's you can slip back easily. And it's, seems to be what they like, TNF, is all these division games.
And I think week 7, I'm not sure it counts as a revenge game. I'm sure I'll squeeze it in when we get to week 7 preview time. But Sean Payton going back to New Orleans. Classic narrative game, if not a revenge game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Adam Troutman revenge game, sure, but not sure if Sean Payton narrative game.
Will Lutz see that revenge game?
Yep. Lil Jordan Humphrey revenge game.
Lil Jordan Humphrey, yeah. Right. Well, we'll see when we get to that week 7. Again, my big surprise on Sunday Night Football is that they haven't got a single NFC East game on Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football love NFC East games. There isn't a single one. It is bizarre. But some great matchups on there as well. Outside of the 2 we've talked about, which kick off. We've got some fans Bills, Ravens, Cowboys, Steelers. I think we've talked about Cowboys, Niners, Sunday Night Football again. Lions, Texans should be great. Yeah, Niners, Bills. Sunday Night Football seems stacked this year.
Yeah. And are we doing an early preview of what the Week 18 game will be?
Oh, what do you think it'll be? Let's get into the season a little bit before we do that. And then there's some crackers on Monday night as well. Not to be biased, but I think the standout one is Texans at Cowboys. That should be a cracker in week 11.
Not to be biased too. I think Lions at Niners as well, week 17.
Yeah. And that could be huge for the NFC. We saw the Lions Cowboys week 17.
And with 3 double headers this year as well, right?
I think it might be more than 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are lots.
Well, there's one late in the season. Yeah, week 15 as well. Sorry, there's 3 early in the season.
Yeah, I think it might be 4 double headers. Which, I think the NFL needs to dial back on that, or you just need to start one game a heck of a lot earlier.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing now. It feels like the prime games are more important than the Sunday games, basically, where it's less and less games on Sunday to watch, which is a good red zone.
And
But I do like on
8-3 or 9-2, whichever way they want to be stacked.
week 12 before Thanksgiving, we have the Harbaugh Bowl as well.
The Harbaugh Bowl
on Monday Night Football, so that'll be a good way to start Thanksgiving week for them.
Yeah, that's a good shout. The Harbaugh Bowl should be a cracker. So that's our very brief look, all things schedule release. Couple of other bits of news. I suppose we'll start. One, I think the Jaguars to London possibility as a permanent move is dead in the water. The Jacksonville Jaguars have last week, I think at some point, revealed or they have been revealing stadium plans, but that's moving forward now. The city and Jacksonville are on board. They've agreed to kind of how they're going to split the money. It's not all going to come from the city. The Jaguars are going to kind of
50-50, right?
50 pretty much on it. There's another 100-odd million that they're just debating over. And they just kind of revamp the TIAA Stadium in downtown Jacksonville and make it a campus for the University of Florida and all of the bits. So that would seem to put an end to any possibility that the Jaguars might be the franchise that moves to London. Also includes in the agreement, we won't see this Jaguars play back-to-back weeks in London anymore when this gets done. It just ain't going to happen. They'll stick to their contractual obligation of Wembley until that runs out. And then I imagine the Jaguars will just go into the cycle of, which is what the agreement seems to be, that they'll just go into the cycle of once, however, so often they need to come to London, which will be sad because we won't have that fixed game in London anymore. Thoughts on that? Did you guys, any of you guys, think there was a real possibility that the Khan family would move the Jaguars to London, given the links they have here?
At some points, yeah, but I think in recent years it's kind of felt more like it just wasn't good. It's always felt like an issue logistically, like that thing of like how would you have bases essentially? Like the NFL has such turnover through the season of players that I think it would be so hard to be based abroad. I think of like bringing in kickers for tryouts, bringing in free agents for tryouts. Like you've got to ship all those. Do you have a base in America to do all that? It just felt like logistically, it always felt like it was going to be a real tough ask, and so it's turned to be. I think the idea of when we inevitably get a 18th game on the schedule, maybe that is an international game for every team. Maybe I think is more likely at this. Well, obviously at this point because the Jags aren't moving.
Speaking of which, the NFL have been starting to scout new locations for international games. Australia being one, that's been the one most heavily reported to go to. I think also Dublin is sounding like a real serious contender. We've already got, there's going to be a game in Spain next year. We've got Brazil added this year. We've got 3 games in London. Yeah, what do we make, Joe? You brought up in our chat around the looking at the Australia possibility.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's probably a growing market where, there's been a few players come over, like Joey Marty. So obviously if it's growing there, if it's getting bigger, then it makes sense. I think like what Byron said, like logistically, Australia is a different market to Europe or, Mexico and Brazil, similar time zones. So to go other side of the country and how you work the time zones and all that kind of situations would be interesting. But, again, it's the NFL. It's they want to make this sport worldwide and, all the better for it, get more people involved. And I'm sure Australia would love it. I'd just be curious if it'd be like West Coast teams will be the ones who primarily go across and how they work it that way. And where you would probably definitely have a bye, while there's been a number of teams who go to London now who don't have a bye the week after, they prefer not to. So again, if they go to the 18 weeks, have 2 bye weeks, I think that'll make it probably more digestible for teams where you're not just wasting your bye week because you have to go to Australia. You have another one in the year as well to offset any of that. So, it'll be fun. I feel like the NFL going forward, I just can't see a franchise just opening up in another country. I think it'll just be more and more international games that way. Just because, like you said, it's just tricky just saying, oh, you've just graduated college, now you've got to move to a different country. Sorry, your family's got to go there where it's a different way of life, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it'll just be more and more international games rather than the franchise going forward.
Excellent. Good stuff. I just was conscious I know we'll get back on topic in a second, but I feel it's relevant and we should discuss this live while we're recording. Should we do a general election gambling special?
I mean, I'm open to the idea. I don't have any insights right now, so I'm pretty sure the Tories are going to get bounced out. But that's as far as my.
There's so many markets on Bet365 for it that just popped up. It was great. Yeah.
What was that announcement, by the way?
That was incredible.
Dream. Rishi Sunak in the fucking rain. He doesn't want to have an umbrella because he doesn't want to be the Wally with a brolly too. And just a little personal story here. Whenever I hear Dream, things can only get better. I'm not going to sing it, but
oh, it's a banger.
Yeah, well, I'm from Carlisle, North England. I can't remember exactly where we were going now as a family. This is when I was a kiddie, and we were going over some bypass to get there, some windy road, and basically my mum was driving as me, my brother, and my sister, and the car like spun essentially off the road, not like dangerous, but like, I mean, not safe either, and as the car like spun on this terrible fucking windy road, it was just like blaring out like things can only get better. My mum just like, knock that off now. It's like one of the like core childhood memories of like just sat in the car as D-Ream is blasting out. My mum is just like, knock that radio off now. And that's how I kind of felt watching Rishi Sunak. Just spiraling off the road and getting drenched while he does it.
Shout out those people at the gates of Downing Street who blasted that through whatever ghetto blaster they had.
Incredible.
Made for a great moment. Maybe that we'll take this one offline and maybe we'll have a chat through because that could be fun. Let's talk about the last news point. Wide receivers, potential holdout. So we've got, obviously not everybody does go to OTAs. OTAs have started today across the NFL. So of course not everybody goes, and some of the big, obviously the big names and big stars don't need the extra work or have you. But we've got 4 wide receivers who it would appear due to trade requests or contract wants are holding out and are not turning up until they absolutely have to. Joe, let's start with your guy first, Brandon Ayuk from the Niners. What do you think is going to happen there? I think Ayuk's on he will earn, I think, $14 million on his fifth year option. But there are 18 wide receivers in the NFL earning north of 20 million. Why do I keep saying thousand? $20 million this upcoming season. I'd suggest Ayuk's better than a lot of those. Where do you think it's heading with this?
Yeah, I think he's going to get the contract. I think how the draft went and how everything went, I feel like they'll want to keep him. I think this could be the last year of him and Debo. It feels like where they'll sign Ayuk and they'll probably get rid of Debo next year. I've seen reports that they're pretty way off where each representatives want to be, but it feels like this happened so early. It's happened with Debo where that went on and on and on. He put a trade request that unfollowed everyone on Instagram, as they always do. They have fallen out, and then finally signs a contract and he plays at the start of the year. I think it's going to be similar. I would prefer to keep him 100%. I think his improvement and where he is in the standing, why not pay him? It's just the issue they've just got too many good players, which is not a bad thing, but it is what it is. And with Brock coming up probably next year, they'll probably pay him. So I would rather get him paid this year, try and get some of that money off the books, and then you can work with Brock Purdy. But yeah, it's similar to with your team where it's when there's a number of players all come at once when they need to get big paychecks. It's some people get upset and want more money, and it's trying to work that kind of deals out what suits everyone.
Yeah, it's tough to navigate the cap, but I think Debo's hits like 20, 21 million, and Ayuk sat there on 14 million. So it is tough, isn't it, when you have players in those positions and how much you load it. It's interesting. Let's move on to that one then. I've not got his jersey on because this is a Des Bryant jersey, but CD Lamb's another one. For the Cowboys, similar position. The Cowboys have got a lot to sort out. They still need to sort Dak Prescott out, and it still feels like they've got a lot of holes in the roster that they need to fill. Yeah. Where's this heading with CD Lamb? Because we've seen it before with Zeke, we've seen it before with Dak. It's not been pretty in these Cowboys contract negotiations.
so unprofessional. I don't mean by CD Lamb. Like, I don't want to be a broken record on this, but like, I support players, like, get your bag. Because, like, if CD Lamb goes down in OTAs, his value goes down. Ultimately, like, he'll still get paid something because he's, an incredible talent, etc., etc. But, like, the Cowboys have had, and same with Brandon Ayuk, same with the players we're going to talk about, they've all had multiple chances to extend these players earlier and earlier. And it's really annoying because, like, I feel like we spend a lot of the offseason, or I do certainly, like, blowing smoke up Howie Roseman's ass. But the Eagles extend their players as soon as they can, and it often works out cheaper for them. Like, self-scout, be willing to pay your players, and you'll probably be better in the long run. I have no issue with CeeDee Lamb holding out. I have no idea what the long-term or short-term plan really is for the Cowboys. It feels like they've been run more and more in the last few years, just like so reactively. And, Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat, and it feels like it's an inevitability of a year out after this year. We're going to go change direction. Dak, I don't know. Again, there's no incentive for them to sign anything other than market-setting contracts.
Yeah, CD Lamb's off the back of career highs in receptions, yards, touchdowns. He was the league leader in receiving yards last year. He was just ahead of Tyreek, wasn't he, in the end?
I think he was in the end, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there shouldn't be, any reason. Every single year he's got better and better and better across all the key.
And who's number two?
Receiver.
Like Brandon Cooks or Jalen Tolbert. Like, you can't go into season with that as your receiving core.
And are you going to be in a position where you need to start Dak out still? And I think that's probably going to be the first domino that needs to fall, I imagine. Then you're going to have to start Micah Parsons out next year. And also, if, we'll talk about the next guy in a second, if he gets done, then where does that leave you? You're then forced to spend more. Yeah. So, yeah, tough situation for the Cowboys, but this is just down to consistent mismanagement over years. Let's talk about the third guy, Justin Jefferson. He could be the one that resets the market for the wide receivers. Yeah,
I definitely feel like for everyone, just get the contract in before Justin Jefferson. It just feels like one of them things where, because it's, Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb, they're not better than Justin Jefferson, but if he sets something, they're going to want $1 million more just so his agent could be like, oh, I got him an extra $1 million and all that kind of stuff. It's just how it works. It works with the QBs. Just, the best QBs are not necessarily the ones who get paid the most. So I would be shocked if Justin Jefferson doesn't sign. I think most of these players will sign. But yeah, Justin Jefferson, like, you can't let him go. And, it's not like they've got a quarterback they need to pay big money to for a few years. It's not like some of the other teams where they've got players who are on massive contracts and they're trying to work around it. You've got Justin Jefferson. That's really it for the time being. So just give him what he wants and just make him happy.
Yeah.
And the GM has spoke pretty much all offseason about it is going to get done. And it's like, well, get it done then. I know like OTAs aren't mandatory, no punishment for not attending, but you kind of want to get you started on the right foot, especially like you say with a rookie quarterback. Sooner the better, and even not the rookie quarterback. Sam Darnold's new to the franchise as well. It's not like they've any built-in relationships there with Justin Jefferson. Yeah, I just think you want to get that done as soon as possible if you're the Vikings. Like you say, they're not paying anyone else, so shouldn't be tough to do.
And then the fourth of this group, then before we move on, T. Higgins obviously requested a trade already. It's been tagged. What do we see? There's just been a lot of noise around the Bengals. Obviously, Hockenson. Why have I just said? Because we were talking about the Vikings.
Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah,
the names are very similar, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have picked up on it if you hadn't said it, actually.
Yes, Hendrickson is... he also asked for a trade, although I think he's, on the understanding, he's not going to be going anywhere. There's a lot of noise about unhappiness at the Bengals. What do we see happening with T. Higgins? Do you think he's going to get his request? Because it feels like there is still that time for one more kind of blockbuster trade to happen in the summer.
I think he'll not get a new contract and he'll not get traded. I think the Bengals are that kind of organization where, if you look at the past, they're just, we'll just keep him another year and we'll just let him go.
Yeah.
Higgins is not their number one. I think, he's a great number two, but, with how many wide receivers there are coming out at each draft and all this, when you just look at all these teams who drafted a wide receiver the last few years, they found their number 2 to sit behind someone who then goes number 1. So I don't think he'll get the money he wants. I think they'll just let him go next year, because what realistically are you going to get for Higgins? 2? A 3? And you might get that in compensation anyway, so why not just get another year out of him?
Yeah.
Maybe see where they are, just before Thanksgiving, if Joe Bow, touch wood it doesn't, but if the season doesn't go well how they expect it, then ship him out, see who wants him. But I can see him just going to someone next year, someone like the Jags or someone like that, giving him the money I don't think he'll get big money, but he'll get good money from another team. I just don't think the Bengals are that kind of place where they just give out massive contracts for players who are not the top dog.
Yeah, and I think it's just logical, like you say as well. Like, who's going to be paying? Who's going to be trading for T. Higgins now? And how does that benefit the Bengals? The Bengals are in a win now window. Like, having a second round pick in 2025 doesn't help them win the Super Bowl. Like, it just makes sense. Fully agree that he'll play this year and then he'll be on his way. I think what be interesting next year is, presuming that all these players do get paid, Higgins might get a bag next year just because that wide receiver market, not many good players hit the market.
It might be like Christian Kirk, where everyone was like, oh, he got so much. It worked out. I think he actually worked out with how the contracts are now and how he performed that first year. But it could be something similar where there's, like I mentioned, like the Jags, the Panthers. Team who just haven't got that number 1 and they just need bodies in there willing to pay an extra couple of million just to get him in the building. So I think he'll get it, but I just don't think the Bengals, when you have they paid Chase already?
No.
Oh, they've got to pay Chase, they've paid Burrows and stuff like that. Again, it's another team who have got bigger players, top-notch players who they would rather pay than. So I think their situation is different to the other teams because, Higgins is not one of the best players.
Yeah, and Chase is getting paid.
Yeah. It's an interesting one because it's a long way to go yet, but there are some interesting names that could hit the wide receiver free agent market next year. Stefan Diggs, I just had his trade, but he's still only got 1 year left in his contract.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, again, another one who's been traded. Amari Cooper, Godwin.
CD Lamb.
CD if he doesn't, yeah.
I'm on Ross St. Brown, right? Because he was a later round pick.
He's had his contract, isn't he?
He's just got paid.
Oh, he just got paid.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm thinking of the draft class, but I forgot he'd been paid.
Yeah, so the interest is some big names could make it, so we'll see.
That's what I think with T. Higgins, like, because he's in a younger class, like Amari, to Keenan Allen. If you're going to play for 5 years, it's not going to be Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen. With respect and love to both those players. Chris Godwin as well, I think, is a free agent next year, but none of those I think would be touching. I think T. Higgins would be the marquee piece next year. Again, presumably he has a good year this year because he had a really up and down year last year. I know he was in and out with injury, and so was Joe Burrow. But he has been a little inconsistent in Cincinnati, which is why he's a good number 2, not a great number 1.
Top 1, yeah. Excellent. Well, that wraps up our news. Let's get to the topic at hand for the main part of the episode, which is good teams win, great teams cover, NFL 2024 revenge games. So first of all, shout out Joe. He's on fire making these backgrounds and thumbnails and whatever. Great job with the. I think when I said to you before, I'll put your face on on Uma Thurman and Kill Bill. I was fully expecting it to be my face that you just do it that way, but I feel like you already kind of had the hair for it a little bit, so it would kind of blend in better. It's you, and you look great on Uma Thurman, Joe. So
thanks, Paul.
Yeah. No worries, it's got a bit weird now, isn't it? Let's start. We're going to share what we think, because this is quite possibly Joe and Byron's favourite subject, revenge games. They're always talking about them on our weekly previews. You must shout out how many NFL games in the season? It's 270 odd, right? You must mention 250 revenge games in our preview. So we thought we'd have a chat about some. So, gents, Joe, let's start with you, as you've done the great work with the thumbnail. What do you see on the slate? What's your kind of number 1 revenge game that we're going to see in 2024?
Yeah, so I haven't ranked it that way, but I've just gone through each week. So I'll start with week 1 just because we're there and with Chad. So we briefly mentioned one of them, but I'll go with one of the Sunday afternoon games. I'll go with Steelers Falcons, and it's the Arthur Smith revenge game. I think how he was shoved out the door at the Falcons, his reputation has taken a massive hit when he came out at the Titans. They were, being number one seeds. That offense was running, and then it felt like he wasted an opportunity for the Falcons. How many top end talent they drafted, and we all expected big things, and he just went out with a stinker. They quickly shut him the door, and now he's at the Steelers where he's got to prove himself. So I think it's a big one where he can, if the Steelers go in to Atlanta, and a new quarterback, it's probably going to be Russell Wilson in week 1, and they absolutely put some points on that Falcons defense after they've got a defensive head coach. He's just going to be stood there, with his FedEx thinking, "Thank you very much. Shouldn't have got rid of me. Hope you have another shit year, Falcons." So I enjoyed that one. And that's a fun one where it's not a massive one, QB or stuff like that, but I think it is. I think Arthur Smith's got some resentment towards.
I think Arthur Smith's a petty man too. Mm-hmm. The way he was last year with the media, every time he got questioned, he'll love going into Atlanta and winning.
My first one is you just touched on the Pittsburgh Steelers there. Steelers, Falcons. Week 2, Steelers at Broncos.
If we were drafted, that's a 101.
Yeah, I think this was my top one. Assuming at this point Russell Wilson will still be the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback. I don't see him being beaten out in training camp. Justin Fields might come in later in the season. But Russell Wilson, going back to the Broncos, well, last year, the way that ended, they treated him awfully. Trying to get him to give up his money with the injury guarantees, all of that nonsense. And week 2, Russ gets the opportunity to go back and stomp all over them. Very much looking forward to this one. Clearly didn't get up with Sean Payton. This is going to be a great one. This was my absolute top revenge game, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a 101. I think it's an absolute classic. It's personal. Sean Payton. I don't like the guy. I say this, a lot of times when we talk about Sean Payton, I don't like him. He's a jerk.
You've never mentioned it before.
Yeah, but he is a jerk. And I think he's kind of proud of it. He does the choke thing with Atlanta. He's proud of who he is. And yeah, it got personal with Russell Wilson. He didn't let him in the building. It got personal as soon as Sean Payton arrived with Russell Wilson. The stuff about Russell Wilson having an office he couldn't take. He took any opportunity to try and belittle the idea of Russell Wilson being above a normal franchise quarterback. And obviously it didn't work out. And yeah, I think this is the 101 of revenge games. I think this is what is personal. And Russell Wilson, I don't think he'll try and play it up. Sean Payton, I'm not too sure. I think he'll try and not play it up, but I'm not sure he's good at.
I was about to say when he throws an interception in the first quarter, it's going to be pan to Sean Payton. Going to be.
Do you think we might get Sean Payton Bounty Gate return for one week?
Possibly. I mean, we had the safety last year. We ended up suspended, didn't we, because of headhunting? I mean, I'm not saying he was getting paid by Sean Payton because this is recorded, but
was it Kareem Jackson?
I think it was Kareem Jackson, yeah.
Kareem Jackson. Yeah.
But the Steelers back-to-back revenge games, week 1 and 2. Massive start of the season for them.
So, I guess, Joe, you've got these in chronological order. I was just picking some off the list, which I thought were fun. You've clearly taken this far more seriously than me, but good because we are a serious show. Where are we? Where do we land next? Or Byron, is there any that we've missed so far?
I mean, not in weeks 1 or 2. I haven't gotten sorted chronologically like Joe has. My next one I had was week 5, so I don't know if Joe has weeks 3 and 4 he wants to touch on.
No, my next one's week 5 as well.
Is it Bills Texans?
It is Bills Texans, yeah.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs, another man who I think is very petty and will want to go out of his way to stick it to the Texans. Will he have fallen out with the Texans by then? Maybe. But he'll definitely want to stick it to the Bills. Getting rid of me, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. Diggs is a driven individual and very petty, I think. It's no coincidence that he's now been traded away on 2 teams when he's a top end wide receiver. We'll see how things go in Houston. I think it should be a great fit because he can be kind of a complementary weapon to Tank Dell and Collins going more down the field, Diggs across the middle. But yeah, I think this is another one that's really personal because Diggs is a personal kind of guy. I don't think he takes much not personally.
Yeah, I think whatever happens he's going to be the news. He's either going to be there with like a face a mile long, unhappy, throwing things up and down if it's gone wrong, or he's going to be rubbing it in their faces when he's gone, 2 touchdowns, 150 yards, something daft like that, just to prove that.
If he goes off as well,
I
can just picture it being like one of my favorite revenge games of all time, Steve Smith versus the Panthers when he was with Baltimore, and he's doing the nailed in the coffin. He's like, ice up, son, ice up. I'd love that from Steph Diggs. As much as I find him kind of insufferable, like, I want those characters.
Excellent. Right, where are we next in our top revenge games of 2024?
Well, just shout out another one from week 5. It's not really quite revenge, but I found it was funny. It's the Panthers at Bears, the revenge of the draft haul they got. I'm sure.
Revenge of the draft. Revenge
game.
Exactly. DJ Moore, the fact that the Bears have just made the Panthers look ridiculous. Well, they've made themselves look ridiculous. But I'll move to week 7, and it's the Eagles at Giants. I think this is huge for Barkley, just with that media all around. Everything what's gone on, the Tiki Barber, all the comments like that, still getting booed by certain fans. But I think we've all agree that it was right to move, but I think it is going to be a big revenge game. That's where they might, if they're on the 1 yard line, say, we'll hand it off to Saquon this time, and he can actually get a touchdown or 2 just to rub it in, especially in New York for week 7.
Couple, I suppose. Another one for week 7. Look, probably the biggest and best game that's in week 7. It's not probably, it is by a mile. The champs go to Levi Stadium to take on the 49ers. The Niners beat twice in the Super Bowl in the last 5 years by the Chiefs. This is the chance that I think this could be a potential Super Bowl rematch again. I think the two teams, the Chiefs and the Niners, are the 2 strongest teams in their conferences. It's like, I can see us getting it for a 3rd time in 6 years. The Niners need to make a statement against the Chiefs, I think. It's split. 2 Super Bowls have slipped away and slipped through the Niners' fingers. Ahead late on twice. Got to start turning the tide against the Chiefs, and this matchup is the opportunity to do so. Start exercising those demons. So yeah, big revenge game for the Niners, I think.
Yeah, ultimate revenge, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, it kind of is. Like, you can't take away the Super Bowl.
Game, yeah.
Well, we always lose to the Chiefs even in regular season, so I just know it's probably not going to go well. So I'm just pretending. I just left it off the list because.
And yeah, I love the Barkley call as well. And they actually play twice. The last game is week 18 as well, which I think kind of times out nice. And yeah, I fully against support with Saquon Barkley. It didn't sound like the Giants made any attempt to keep him there, and yet the fans, because the Giants fans are trash, just like dogging on Saquon Barkley for leaving after. Given his best for years at the franchise. I'm not sure really what more he could have done. But yeah, it's going to be a rare case where I'm cheering for an Eagles player to stick it to somebody because I love Saquon.
I missed a week 3 one that's very important as well. So the Jets are on the road for the first 2 games. They don't play their first home game until week 3. Aaron Rodgers versus the MetLife Stadium Turf is a big revenge game.
Who are they playing?
They're playing the Patriots.
Yeah, it'd be great if it was the Bills. But yeah, no, they're at home to their home openers against the Patriots in week 3. They're on the road the first 2 games. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers versus the MetLife Stadium Turf.
On a short week as well, Thursday night.
Short week, yeah.
If he comes out with that American flag, oh boy. That is a good one.
Sadly, it's going to be Thursday, September the 19th. That's quite a significant day, is it? Yeah.
Not quite as significant, no. So yeah, we're trying to figure out who Tyrod Taylor's revenge games are going to be after week 3 then.
Right, where are exciting loss now?
We done week 7. My next one is week 14. So I mean, Joe,
right.
You've probably got some space to fill there.
Joe's got 40.
Yeah, so I'll move to week 11. This one's just a fun one. It's not huge, but we've also mentioned it's the Texans Cowboys. It's the Dig Bros. Who's going to be, the head of the table when there's family reunions, but also Parsons versus Stroud. I feel like it's been great watching them in Japan, but it feels like Stroud come out ahead of that, where it just feels like everyone's like, yeah, everyone's loving Stroud, and everyone's like, Parsons all right. So I think it's a big revenge game. How much smack the talk during the draft and during all that kind of thing. I think that's going to be a fun game. How them two react, and then to add it in there, you've got the Diggs brothers playing against each other. I think that's going to be a fun game.
I think as well, the idea of Mike Parsons getting a sack and then doing a sumo wrestler celebration, maybe their sumo experience in the offseason. That could be a fun one.
Yeah, the Diggs brothers battle is very interesting. I wonder, would you? I don't know. If you're the Cowboys, would you line up Trayvon against Stefan?
Trayvon loves jumping the ball as it is. I think that one could really go either way.
I'd really like to see that. Although I think you probably have Diggs on Dell or Collins as the bigger threat, I guess, wouldn't you?
So so over week 11, I just put Chiefs at Bills will be a fun one. Again, another team who always knocks them out of the playoffs. So it's always a fun one.
MVS revenge game.
Yeah, there you go. I've got the Harbaugh class just because, again, the last time they played, I'm guessing it was a Super Bowl. So it's, again, revenge to be the favourite son. Yeah. But the next one I want to discuss is week 13 is the Seahawks at Jets. It's a Geno Smith revenge game. This is feels like the revenge game of revenge games.
This is a good one.
Being in New York, everything will happen with Geno. He's basically getting kicked out of town, getting punched out of town, getting everything out of town. And then he's come back. It's a great story. And can he just rub it into the Jets' face? Week 13 as well. Who knows where the Jets are? If they're close to playoff and Geno just coming in, being Geno, throwing it up and down the park. It'd be very Jetsy for that to happen. So Geno Smith revenge game week 13.
Love it.
Yeah, I didn't see a Geno Smith revenge game coming up in your list, Joe.
That feels like a huge revenge game, though. Just how that ended. Some of them, it's a stretch for me and Byron bring up, but that is a revenge game.
Well, the next week has a big one, and I think this is another one that's towards the top of the list, week 14. Kirk Cousins goes back to Minnesota.
On the bench, with Michael.
With Michael Penix, Yeah, Cousins back to Minnesota. Minnesota weren't willing to give Cousins what he wanted, which was that security and that longer-term contract. So Cousins packed off to Atlanta and got all of the money again. So I think that's gonna be an interesting matchup. Surprised that wasn't maybe put for prime time, but it's an early game.
It might change could
flex. Who knows? Yeah.
You don't want to put it in prime time. You've got a double revenge game for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins versus prime time and Kirk Cousins versus the Vikings. Just let him have one.
That's why my Penix might come in when it's prime time. So keep it Sunday just so we actually get the revenge. Thinking ahead.
Yeah, so Kirk Cousins. Any more from that week, Joe?
I've got. Have you got any, Byron, from week 14? My next one's week 17, so I don't know if anyone else has got.
That's also mine.
I'll let you go, Byron, with that one.
Raiders Saints, Derek Carr revenge game.
Dennis Allen revenge game as well. It's a double revenge game.
That is Dennis Allen, great shout.
If you still
Derek Carr got shit on his way out of the Vegas. Josh McDaniel, not exactly a people person. And he came out today. I don't know if you guys seen this news. Aiden O'Connell has changed his jersey number from 4 to 12. So essentially, he got told he was having 4 last year by Josh McDaniels. And Aiden O'Connell hated it because like Derek Carr's number 4 in this franchise. And it's not fair to change his number, give his number to a rookie immediately. So Josh McDaniel's now out the door, and Aiden O'Connell's changed to number 12 now because he didn't think it was fair to Derek Carr, which just adds a nice little layer of respect between those players at least. But again, just kind of shows Josh McDaniels. Again, I'm on my Sean Payton soapbox here, but Josh McDaniels is a real piece of shit. And I think that's a real good revenge game because I think Derek Carr, he loved being a Raider, and I think he would have happily retired a Raider. He said it a few times in his career, but Josh McDaniel comes in with his toxicness, and I'm not going to say Derek Carr's the best quarterback in the league or anything like that, but I think he's generally a good guy and a good leader of his team. And got shafted on his way out essentially. So
check us out. 2 Saints shout outs on the show this week.
Love the Saints here at GTC.
We're growing. We're growing as a show. Until they're trash at some point, and then we'll just ignore them again. No, I'm joking. We'll see. That could be Spencer Rattler at that point, and not Derek Carr as well, which would ruin that revenge game.
Well, Dennis Allen will still be there, hopefully.
Well, I was about to say, I don't know if Dennis Allen will be there if he's gone at that point.
Joe, any more, or is that your lot? Because week 18 is, of course, divisional week.
Yeah, there's a few minor ones. I put obviously the Lions and Niners just with what happened last, but it's not huge revenge. And I put a fun one for week 18 is the Commanders at Cowboys. Could Dan Quinn spoil the party and get his revenge for not getting the top job and not getting Eddie McCann? Comes in, the Cowboys were the playoff team at that point. Could he come in just to spoil it and just rub it into Jerry's face and be like, yes, I am the man you should have hired and got rid of that fool and the head coach. So, yeah, Commanders at Cowboys could be a fun one. Just imagine seeing like Jerry Jones's face as the Commanders just run it in and they miss the playoffs. Oh,
it was on my list as well. Yeah, I just think, especially like you say, with being week 18, I didn't put it in the early game, but like the week 18 one, it could be. Mike McCarthy ends up one game out of the playoffs or something, and Dan Quinn gets that win to secure it. I think that would be very Cowboysy.
Well, that could all unfold on the national stage of Sunday Night Football as well, which would be the icing on top of that cake for you, Joe.
I'm sure there'd be plenty of people happy with that outcome, but maybe not two people on here.
Hey, you know what? If at least Mike McCarthy going, no, I'm joking. You still want to be in the play. Still got a chance to win it all. Right, does that wrap us up? Have we any more?
Not any big ones. I'm sure me and Byron will come up with another 200 during the season, so we've got plenty of time to bring them up. But yeah, they were the big ones. They're the fun ones. Can't wait already. It's so far away, but here we go.
Just 3.5 months away. Well, those are your revenge games to look out for across the NFL in 2024. Thanks for joining us. As always, on Good Teams Win Great Teams cover. We'll be back next week with what I think is going to be a draft episode. Did we say we're going to do maybe buzzer beaters, walk-offs, last-minute winners? Maybe was that the topic? It needs a better name than that, though. So shall we work on that? Yes, I think we'll do that next week with a potential guest. Join us for that. Go give us a follow as always over on Spotify, Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. You'll be notified of new episodes as they drop. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok, where we will continue to work to get some clips on. There's some great ones, including our shock of the Michael Penix pick from a few weeks ago. It's on our TikTok, and we'll get a few others as well. Follow us on all those channels at GTW_GTC, and we'll see you next week.